the governor, the sitting governor, that all these documents are put together and understood before people come before the Senate. And number two, it is very, very bad to feel Kitui senator, who has been there, this is his second term, say that he doesn't even know whether there is a building. Senate Mashinani visited Kitui, the first Senate Mashinani, and all the senators actually visited KICOTEC. And they saw the good work, Honorable Chair, that young people were doing there. But honestly, the senator of Kitui does not know where KICOTEC is. He reads it in Viusasa. May I ask you, please, to kindly just be the good person you are and visit KICOTEC instead of fighting KICOTEC all the time, because that building is there and it's a big building. And I also want to ask honorably whether a Senate can also visit. It was, Honorable Chair, in my manifesto when I was campaigning in 2016, 2017, it was in CIDP, it was in ADP, and the money was given by the county assembly when we presented it, and everything also went through the controller of budget and everything, all the system were used properly. So I do really appreciate the effort that the Senate is making to get to understand what this KICOTEC is, and even to ask the Office of the Auditor General to also visit and see, and then get all documentation out so that they can go one by one. I can only say it is something that has not been done before and by any other county. And for me, it is to support it and help those people who are doing what they have not done before to understand it, because this is the first parastatal of the county, and how we try to put and actually train and employ these young people who have no jobs. So really I want to ask the Honorable Senator if you can find it in you to really visit KICOTEC so that you can see the assets in it, the building in it, the training that has been done to these young people, and then you can sometimes critique it from a point of understanding what has gone in there. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Wambua, I don't want to provide an opportunity for exchange, but maybe...
No. There's no exchange. I'm just responding.
Just visit one.
Relax.
Member, order, member. Let's say Honorable Wambua.
Thank you, Chair. I accept the invitation, and I'm just hoping that by my visit...
I can't invite him now because I'm not the governor, and even the current governor. Could you make a point of visiting? Please.
That's okay. We'll make a point of visiting.
Let's be very clear. Here we are talking about documentation for the building. Even if you go there physically and the documentation is not there, even if senators go there and the documentation, when they were preparing the 2021 account, and when the auditors went there and asked questions, was this produced? Documentation, because that's what is required. And our inquiries is we couldn't find any.
So, Chair, I was saying, now that she says she can't invite me, then I take the challenge to visit. And I was saying, I hope that by visiting, then the LSOs and the the tender documents and the payments, the documentation for KICOTEC, then will be available. Chair, if the only thing that stands between this committee and getting the proper documentation for KICOTEC, if the only thing that stops that from happening is that the Senator of Kitui has not visited, I can leave now, and in 2.5 hours, I will be at KICOTEC. That those documents then can be made available. Chair, let's not lose focus. And I told you, Chair, in our meeting in your office, that if there's one person who is going to be very, very sober on this matter, it is the Senator of Kitui County. Because through this KICOTEC, county money has been lost, and a lot of money. It is money that could have helped our people get better services. Now, you heard from yourself that we can't even make progress from the first item. We can't move from the first item. Chair, when we get to, if we will, I will be demonstrating to this committee, because I've been challenged, why I have utterly refused to visit KICOTEC. Because my estimation of things is that the previous administration of the county government of Kitui would have wished to use my visit to KICOTEC to sanitize an illegality. I will be demonstrating to this committee, Chair, that a company called Kitui County EPZ Limited, which is funded as a county entity, is actually the private firm that the previous administration wanted to use to take away the land and the buildings from KICOTEC. We'll get to that point. My response to the buildings and whether they exist or do not exist, Madam Charity Ngilu, I was just informing my friend, Senator Olekina, that, let's keep an open mind. Perhaps there is no building. Let's keep an open mind. Let us be informed by the documents that we have, so that we don't talk from a position of misinformation, as you're saying. The information that has been provided to this committee and to me as the Senator of Kitui County, it's very clear to everyone that this, Chair, and that you deserve the right to do, that this was just a conduit to pilferage county money. That's what the opinion I've formed. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think we need to make progress, and I want to give direction on this specific issue. The first direction is that we have received the bank statements from the county.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Please, just one. Please, Mr. Chair, let me just one.
I don't want it to look like...
No.
Proceed.
If the Senate committee doesn't get to understand this, then they can get the wrong information about KICOTEC. And because this is a very serious committee that need to understand everything that was done, I started by saying how I envisaged an organization that can help train young people just from the KICOTEC, because Kitui, Siongila actually is called Siongila Polytechnic. KICOTEC is next to Siongila Polytechnic, it's the same. And I said, instead of training young people and telling them go and look for jobs, we'll do it in the same place. Mr. Chair, the building that houses KICOTEC is in Siongila Polytechnic. And this is the same place where, and I would like again to inform this Senate, where we have started all the institutions in Kitui. One, we started the Kitui Teachers College right there to eventually move to Kitui High School, where they were given some land. It's all government land, all government land. It is where we started the Kitui Water Institute. Again, we use it to then eventually move to the bigger place. And I can say here that I am the one who always organized the people, and even to say to all of you to understand, where KICOTEC sits today, part of Siongila actually is, the sponsor is SCK Church, like all churches sponsor, these polytechnics and schools and that. And this is something that needs to be understood. He talked about EPZ. The plan, Honorable Senator, was to make sure that eventually that KICOTEC can transform to an EPZ, but as is, so that we can export garments. The equipment that was bought there went through all the cabinet meetings and everything. Therefore, I want to ask, my Governor Malombe to really go back and to put all these documents together and bring them. Otherwise, I do not think there is anything personally that may have been done outside. It may be that there is something that was not understood, and the Auditor General will be able to give all this information, what they have given, and they'll be given answers. So I truly want to say that the land where KICOTEC sits belongs to the county government of Kitui. And it will, and that's where everything has always started, in Kitui. I want to thank you.
Yeah, let me give direction on this matter. Honorable members, it looks like we are struggling to get documents to support this issue of 168,000. And the only document we have here is the bank statements. So in that regard, I'm directing the clerk working with the budget office. We usually have a fiscal analyst on the committee. Is he around? Is Kennedy around? Is not around. So the clerk working with the budget office and the office of the Auditor General, I would like that you analyze the bank statements that have been presented to us with a view of determining how the composition of this 168 is, and any other issue incidental to it, which we are going to consider in the next matter. Then prepare a report to this committee, and on the basis of that, the committee will make a decision. Because I don't want to take it back to the county, because from the explanation we have had, we seem not to be making progress on the issue of documents. So the only document we have here is the financial bank statements, which we will request the three offices, the clerk, the budget office, and the OAG, to work together, prepare a report for this committee on this issue of 168 million. And then subject to that, we will discuss and give the way forward. So we will proceed to the next issues, and the next issues are issues of transfer, issues of financial performance, and the issues of the bank statements. And that is contained in your report, Governor. I think item 2.1, item 2.2, and item 2.3, combine the two, given that we are running short of time. And the officers who have been invited to come, that is Georgina Musembi and Faith Muna. you'll be very critical to this second issue. So, Governor, proceed.
Chairman, if you look at page 3 of the unbound document, we have provided some summary there.
And sorry, before you go, I've just been reminded by the clerk. The second directive is that the committee will organize to visit this site to try and see in their eyes whether they can see 168 or not.
Chair,
Yeah.
and as you plan that, I think I was in Kitui lately, and I would want the governor to confirm because I was told KICOTEC is closed. So maybe the governor can confirm whether it is in operation.
Yes, Governor, you have been asked to confirm whether it is existing or it closed.
So that I am not inaccurate, and the acting CEO is here, let me ask him to respond to that. I can give a response, but since he's here, let him give that response. Acting CEO, please.
Through the Honorable Chair and through our His Excellency the Governor, KICOTEC is operating. It is not closed.
Okay, that we'll verify when we come over. Yeah, let's proceed. Governor, proceed.
Yes, as I indicated, if you take the unbound paper, item 2.1 is a certified bank statement since inception to June 2022. And the statements are in the documents I laid earlier. The one which shows Equity Bank is the one which was used to operate the accounts. And I would like to invite the officers who are there, Georgina Musembi and Faith Muna, to elaborate on the statements.
Georgina, is Georgina there? So you can proceed, and in your explanation, you can also respond to the issues members had raised on the issue of numerous cash withdrawals that were made from the accounts.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Through the Governor, Kitui County, His Excellency Dr. Julius Malombe. Instant. So, Chair, when we were notified that you were accompanying the Governor, I wrote a small write-up just to guide my speaking so that I don't deviate away from what is in my head. So you'll allow me to just read it so that...
Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. So the Kitui County Textile Center, which is abbreviated as KICOTEC, started as a program in the Ministry of Trade, Cooperatives and Industry in the financial year 2018-2019. It operated as a program till November 2019 when the KICOTEC regulations were gazetted. After the regulations were gazetted, the Board of Directors was gazetted on the 12th of February 2020. During the transition period from the program to the county corporation, some senior officers, including myself, were seconded to support the Board of Directors as its secretariat. That would include the acting finance manager, who is here. We had an acting HR manager, and then we also had an acting procurement manager. The team is the one that midwifed the transition until the substantive managers were recruited. That's why we have the Peter Yoma here and the former CEO and others who were recruited later on. Now, the Board of Management approved the signatories to the 2 bank accounts. KICOTEC has 2 bank accounts, and that is since March 2020. We have the revenue account, which is number 0720-27-9696-877. And then we have the operations accounts, 0720-27-9696-894. The revenue account is meant for receiving monies or funds from sales. I must emphasize that since the board took over, all the monies you'll see on that revenue account are from purely sales. The operations account, on the other hand, is intended to make payments for expenses incurred by KICOTEC. The funds would ideally be transferred from revenue account to the operations whenever there are payments or transactions to be made, and that was subject to availability of funds. It being a business like any other, there are times you have money, there are times you don't have money. So we would accumulate transactions and only transact when there's money. That's why sometimes you'll see maybe there's money transferred and at the same day there are transactions being made.
Obviously guided by the governor, the sitting governor, that all these documents.
CEO is not the user of the money. The Corporation Act describes the role of the CEO that would include, of course, responsible for the day-to-day management of the corporation, directions and affairs and transactions of the corporation. Further, the regulations, specifically Regulation 9, Sub-Regulation 2, provides that the expense of the corporation shall be paid from monies received or generated from the corporation's operations, grants, donations or gifts, and monies appropriated by the County Assembly of Kitui. The Board of Directors approved the budgets for both the revenues. We had revenue targets from the Board of Management and mostly from the sales, or actually purely from the sales, and also the expenditures. That would include the cost of sales. The Secretariat undertook the day-to-day activities with approved budgets while providing regular reports to the Board of Management or Board of Directors. Now, how are we transacting? And that answers your concern, Chair, in terms of the cash withdrawals. First of all, just to clarify, there were no cash withdrawals. That's why the first transaction you will see on that bank statement is checkbook. We had a checkbook and the custodian was a finance manager. But how are we transacting? First of all, just like any other government entity, there would be a claim or an interest raised by the relevant officers to support the activity. The accountant would confirm availability of funds through the budget. The accounting officer, the CEO, approves. A payment voucher will be prepared with the officer's name on it. Then a check would be prepared. A check can be on the officer's name, like now Faith Mona name. Faith Mona was not a cash transaction. Faith Mona was an activity that was being paid. So her name appeared on the check for the activity that was being paid. Sometimes we'd combine transactions, like just I've said, we didn't have money all the time. So you'll find one check paying several vouchers. So once the check is done, the signatories would then sign at least 2. The instructions from the bank or to the bank were at least 2 signatories with the CEO being the one who had been signing. So the signatories would sign. Then the check would be presented by the accountant, not the bearer on the name of the check, like Georgina. I was not the one going to the bank, sorry, Chair. So that the check would be presented. And this was through the operations account. That's why we see the transaction, the operations account. And finally, the facilitation of the concerned officers would be done through the finance department. That is still the practice up to date. If you look at the transaction later on, even after I left, you'll see the name of the CEO, Ben Jackson. You'll see even now the name of the acting CEO, Peter Yoma. It does not mean he's a user of the money. It's just a check that bears his name, him being the custodian of the account on behalf of the Board of Directors. I need to say, during the transition period, the Board of Directors did not develop the finance policy. We were only able to do the HR policies, and the ref, I am told later on, they developed a finance policy which has strengthened financial management of the institution. But we stood guided by the PFM Act the County Corporations Act, and the KICOTEC regulations. Chair, of importance to note, KICOTEC would only make payments based on the availability of funds. I need to emphasize that. Sometimes there were delays, even in payment of wages, because we didn't have money, which were occasioned by delays in receipt of payments by our various clients. Just like any other business, you transact and sometimes you get paid late. Finally, in the 2 financial years periods I was there, 1920 and 2021, the corporation made sales approximately of 128 million. And in 2021, we made sales from 2 or 3. Who are our clients? Most of them are government entities. I must say, Chair, 1920, most of our sales, if you look at that revenue accounts, were PPEs. You remember in 2020 from March, COVID was here, and we were able to take advantage of that opportunity and get some businesses for selling PPEs, masks, scrubs, and other items. So in 2021, we made sales of 203. The targets from the board for both periods were almost the same, and we were able to meet the targets set by the Board of Management for sales. Additionally, I must say, Chair, we still made profits. 1920, the profit was 6,896,000 as per the financial statements that are with the Auditor General. And finally, 2021, we made profits of 4 million. Thank you, Chair. I submit.
Very well. Georgina, you have made your statement very clear. But looking at the information you have provided yourself, which is contained in the bank statement as well, you made various transactions, cash withdrawals via check on your name on different dates, and some of those items that you were withdrawing money for are items that ideally should be paid directly to the person offering the service or the firm offering the service. For example, on the 29th of May 2020, you withdrew 172,000 shillings to be paid for feasibility studies. Who was doing these feasibility studies?
Chair, I'm assuming that transaction through the governor you're mentioning is the one for Faith Muna, I would assume.
Yeah, that is for Faith Muna. You also withdrew on various dates staff allowances, sometimes on the same day. For example, you did staff allowances on 28th. You did 1.5 million. Then a day after, you also did staff allowance of 644,000. Well, why would that happen? From your explanation, it is not linking with what you have provided here.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. What we have provided is a summary of the transactions, either operational or staff allowances or the Board of Management facilitation. And I won't speak, maybe I can just explain, but what I have said, KICOTEC did not have money all the time. Let's mark that first. We had to get paid to transact. We have to make money. Actually, we have to first get the client, get an LPO, get it serviced, then get paid. Most of them are government entities. So sometimes there are delays. So anytime we would get paid, we would take care of any other accumulated transactions. For example, if an officer has gone to the field and has come back and there was no money to pay them, they would raise their voucher and it would wait for money. So when the money comes, we combine several vouchers. Then the accountant would sign the check with my name. I repeat, Chair, I was not the one going to the bank. It is just a check bearing my name, being the custodian of the accounts.
You see, Madam Georgina, you know, from your explanation, we understand your explanation. But you know, it is, and the auditors are here will confirm, that is against the PFM for you to just make numerous cash withdrawals. They are in your name. And even you are going further and even alerting us to another offense, why the bank was able to give out cash when you are not appearing in the bank yourself.
Chair, thank you for your concern. Through the governor, I have explained the accountant was introduced to the bank to transact on behalf of the custodian of the accounts. The CEO is the custodian of those accounts on behalf of the board of directors. But of course, the CEO cannot keep going to the bank. It is a finance manager who does that.
Who writes a check and then someone else goes to the bank to get the money?
It is him who goes to the bank, sorry. The check is opened with the custodian's name on the check. He goes to the bank to facilitate officers. I am not sure whether withdrawals are a crime. I would want to know which section of the law provides for that. But the payment vouchers, the interests are there to support all the transactions. The checks will just be written based on the availability of the, based on the vouchers available and the interests are available. Then the accountant will transact on behalf of the corporation.
Okay, very well. You can take a seat, Senator Mutinda.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, through you, I would want Georgina to tell us if they have the documents for approval of budgets, because one of the issues that we are struggling with is the issue of documentation, because she talked about they had approved budgets. Are there documentations for this? Now, how was money transferred, Georgina, from the revenue account to the operations account? Georgina, who was the user of the money? When money was collected, because you've really emphasized that you are not the user of the money, so who was spending this money? Chair, through you, for equity, where I proudly bank with, and most Kenyans do bank with Equity Bank, with an open check. An open check means that the bank can give you the money in cash and immediately and promptly. So, do you want to tell and to confirm before this committee that if I have a check reading Charity Ngilu, and Charity Ngilu goes to Equity Bank with an open check under me, it's an example.
Please don't say that, because I haven't gotten any check
I was
from
giving
anywhere.
an example.
Please, no,
Okay.
don't give an example. Give the senator.
Okay. Assuming I withdraw.
Yeah, give an
I
example.
withdraw.
Yes.
Then, assuming it's written Enoch Wambua,
Yes.
and it's open, but Tabitha goes to the bank. Tabitha Mutinda goes to the bank with this check. You want to confirm before this committee that Equity Bank will be able to allow me, with an open check for Enoch Wambua, will allow to give me money. I would want that clarity, Chair, from Madam Georgina.
Yeah, I had asked the same thing. Georgina.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Through the governor. Yes, I can confirm we have approved budgets and procurement plans since the board took over. I have said the board took over in February 12th, 2020. If you want us to table the budgets, we can. The budgets are not the same as the IFMIS ones. This is a corporation now with a new board of directors, new accounts. So the budgets are just to facilitate the corporation's operations revenue targets, and also the sales, cost of sales was provided for in the budget. You've asked from the county executive to KICOTEC. I had said all the monies you will see on that revenue accounts are purely sales. We had to make money from selling items, and I can even give you a list of a few clients. But the statement should be able to show. State House was one of them, a few counties, KEMSA, KPLC, and many others. The user of the account. I said, you asked who is the user of the money. I had explained and said, just like any other government entity, sometimes officers go to the field and they need to be paid. Sometimes board of directors would meet and they need allowances. Those are the users, and I've provided a summary of the transactions based on what you are paying. About the open chair, Honorable Senator, through the chair, yes, if you open a check with your name, it will be cashed. What the bank will do, they'll do a callback. They used to do callbacks. Is this your check? What's the amount? And they transact. I don't have to be the one going to the bank. Thank you.
The question you did not answer, Georgina, I asked you about the money transfer. I asked how you transferred money from revenue account to the operations, because you said you have two accounts. Kindly understand the question. I didn't ask the monies from the Kitui County, the monies that were transferred as capital. I asked you now, since you had revenue and you had operations, for you to operate and expense on operations, you've clearly stated that you had to make sales. So that is revenue. So how did money move from the revenue account to the operations account?
Thank you, Chair. There was paperwork done to the bank through the finance manager. You can provide paperwork? Yes, Chair, we can.
Chair. Honorable members, maybe before you put in your questions, I will allow the legal to make a comment on that matter of cash withdrawals. We are calling it cash withdrawals because someone used to go to the bank with an open check and get money. Proceed.
Maybe, Chair, the officer could clarify. Ordinarily, that used to be done before IFMIS came in, and those cash transactions were later discouraged. So the question maybe the senators would want answered is, why were they, wasn't the right process to send payment schedules to the bank such that the officers who are being paid, or the expenses that are being paid, rather than an officer withdrawing the cash, such money is sent directly to that other particular officer, because those cash transactions only used to happen before IFMIS came in.
You answer that, and then members will now respond.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. KICOTEC is not under IFMIS, the corporation. We don't use IFMIS.
Another problem. That's another problem. You
Chair.
know, one thing I like about Georgina is that you are very confident, even if your answers still have rough edges, but you are very confident. So let's have Senator Wambua.
Georgina, she's still there? Oh, sure. So, Georgina, you are an accounts person, is it? A finance person?
I'm an economist.
An economist. Now, Georgina, so KICOTEC is not on IFMIS, that's fine, even if it is not fine. But you're making payments to staff members. You know, they have gone on a retreat or whatever it is they've done. The economist in you, and I'm also not an accountant, what would be easier to do? What would be more prudent to do for Georgina or say Enoch, because I see people want their names to be used on this one?
The CEO is not the user of the money.
And I will also direct.
The Corporation Act describes the role of the CEO. That would include
budget office, working with the auditors and our clerk to verify all the cash withdrawals that were made. And where necessary, when we seek documentation, we should get it. And also include that in their report. And I also warn the accountants involved. We have Faith Mona, who is here. We have Georgina. We have who? Kimanzi and the others. Clearly, you went against your professional code of conduct. The procedures in how payments are done, they are not done in the way. You may have been justified to do it, but procedurally, that is not the way to go. So I think the committee will be analyzing that matter further and will make appropriate recommendations. And the recommendations can be very severe. You know, we want accountants, when you are involved in the payment process or in the preparation of financial statement, you must understand that you have signed a code of conduct with the ISPAC, and you must live true to that code of conduct. So whenever there is any problem about finances and your signature is
that the county government would like to do, and they were all saying, yes, go ahead and do it. And after that, and all that is documented, and I'm sure you'll find it in your documents, they said, please do this. And I said earlier, and I would like to make again the same statement, that we really were hoping that we could do an EPZ within the same area, so that we now train and people can make different products and export them and also sell them locally. And one thing, Honorable Chair, I would like to share with you is that, and what Georgina did not say, and I would like her to say next time, this Siongela Polytechnic brought in too many people who work in KICOTEC, and they were trained thoroughly to make the kind of garments that they make today. What the Senate may not know, and I have not been there, and I hope it is going on. By the time I was leaving, we even got a big contract for the national government or the administration. Honorable Senator, if you go to your chief in the village and ask him, where is your uniform from? KICOTEC, you see it at the back. So the kind of a thing we were trying to do really is to introduce a place where you train the young people. You don't just put money in TVETs and in polytechnics, and after that you let the young people go and start looking for jobs. So the kind of thing we envisaged that we could do in that. Thank this honorable committee for first of all understanding the reasons why I did not come for the meeting, the first meeting that you invited me, and to say that I am truly grateful for your understanding, and to say that quite honestly, some of these issues that are being raised here, if there was goodwill, they could have been addressed first and foremost, even on the ground, with people understanding the reason why. And I like, quite honestly, what Honorable Senator Thangwa has said from Kiambu, that if there is some kind of irregularity that may have been done, it can be regularized. And obviously, to do so is just to see that if this is not what should have been done, this is what is called administrative issue. It is not an issue that should, belabor on people saying that, we count the government of Kitui and all other counties will be here, and they are perpetual. They'll be here all the time. And I do know, looking at even what the CEC then did, Honorable Chair, was to put the name of the person. Like I see a lot of land, and maybe there's lots of things that people don't know, that all land that belongs to the government is actually, hosted by the Treasury, the PS Treasury. That is what happens. All the land that belongs to the government, it is written PS Treasury, and I cannot be wrong. So there are just a few things that all of us need to appreciate and understand. And finally, to say, I was very keen as a governor of Kitui to do what is right for the people and to ensure that we followed what we needed to do according to my manifesto, and also to do public participation. And we did on a day, including the then MCA of that area, who came, and all of them were invited, including the senator, including the MP, and if they don't come, people continue. And so I want to say that it was done, it is then that they should have come to bring their ideas, and if they didn't bring their ideas, it went on, regardless. And I want to ask this Honorable Senate that we would like to get some kind of understanding from these committees that you are setting up, the forensic and who, so that we can understand what should have been done better. And it still can be done better because there is still a sitting governor. I think for me, I don't see, I'm not even sure, although I'm sitting here, why this could not have been done. We must not just come here and start washing our dirty linen in public. And it's because somebody's playing to the gallery. I want to say that. So I want to say thank you very much, Honorable Senator and the committees, and say that should you need me again for clarification, I will be available. And just to make sure that the clerks have my where I am, please don't send on WhatsApp because you mess me again. My email is ckingilu28@gmail.com. My number, you have it. My physical address, the county knows it only too well, but I am from Idokwe village, and my letters can be dropped there. Please write letters. My other physical address is on Lower Kabete Road, so you can drop a letter even if I'm not in. I just want to beg you to do that for future. Thank you so much, Honorable Senator. And finally, to ask, can we all pull together to help this country get out of the mess it is in? Young people, call them Gen Zs, call them youth, call them who, they need all of us to come together and see how we can help this country. I want to thank you so much once again. Is to thank this honorable committee for
that documentation. I know Mr. Kali or Dr. Kali Macau said, all the documents are there in the ministry and so forth. Why didn't they give the auditor that documentation then? And I want to give an offer. I will allow my Minister for Trade, under whom KICOTEC falls, and the CEO, and my county executive, the procurement officers, to work with Mr. Kali. You avail yourself, and you go to the infamous you refer to, And if you can get the documentation for the initial capital, the 168 million, then that will help us a lot. And the question will be, why was that not availed to the auditors when they came? Because when the auditors come, they request for documentation. If they don't, they record that. So we have a board which we have put there, and the chair is here. And I know time is up. But what they are doing now, because of the huge loss which that entity has made, and we have come to the conclusion as a county executive committee that is not viable, it's not sustainable, and we are not going to go ahead with it. That board is looking seriously at the question of what next as provided for in the documentation. With respect to Siongila Youth Polytechnic, we have taken a conscious decision as a county. We will strengthen our VTCs, vocational training centers. There are 55 of them, and Siongila is one of them. And we are going to revamp it, and we'll be looking at perhaps if KICOTEC, anything which is there, can it be transferred to the Youth Polytechnic, because we want to strengthen them, and they do many other things. And the other thing we have consciously made is looking around, even at the national government level. We don't think governments should be involved in doing business. Business should be left to the private sector. The government plays a role of facilitation, enablement, and to the extent possible, catalyzing, doing something which can enable the private sector to thrive, but not to try to do that which can efficiently be done by the private sector. So that is a position, and the board which is there is advice, and once we are ready, we are required by the law to send things to the county assembly, and we will do that. We know there is a lot of politics around it. Even when you're taking action, but when you are elected as a leader, one of the things you should have is a thick skin. And when you come to the conclusion this is the right decision to take, you have to take it and implement it. Thank you.
Very well.
And that happened even when
More Radio, 88.2 FM. We are in charge. More Radio, 88.2